Alright, hey, what's up, guys? This is Lucas here. So, today I will be discussing how to make smarter rotations in your speed solves. Uh, I'd say this video is a little more geared toward beginners, but advanced solvers definitely could pick up some things. I'll be talking about, a wide variety of topics. Um, but really, these are just like common misconceptions or errors I see in people's solves who are slower than I am. So I thought I'd shed some light onto what it means to rotate in a smarter fashion. Hey guys, so I'm happy to announce that I have renewed my sponsorship with the Cubicle for this year, and I have a new discount code. It's Lucas Cube, so the exact same as my channel. If you enter that, should work for 5% off. And a new component in the contract this year is that I will earn commission for everyone who uses that discount code. So if you want to support me and my channel, definitely use that discount code at the Cubicle. It gives 5% off like every other discount code. So make sure to use Lucas Cube, and I really appreciate the support. So enjoy the rest of the video. But yeah, let's get right into it. The first topic I wanted to discuss was minimizing the number of front slots you do in solves. So this is, a really basic concept. I'd say it's probably one of the most talked about when it comes to optimizing your rotations. So essentially, like a front slot is where you make an F2L pair and you insert it into one of these two slots in the front, so the front left or the front right. So the idea is you want to minimize those because if you do not do a front slot, you're doing a back slot. And what back slots do is, even though they might be a little worse in terms of both look ahead and maybe like the algorithm required, what they'll do is they'll expose unsolved slots in the front, and what this means is that you have more unsolved pieces or pieces to be solved right in front of you, so that you can like transition super easily into the next pair. So overall, it's just a really good idea to insert into the back more than you do into the front. So I'll do another example. Let's just set up one super fast. Okay, so I set up a case. We have noticed that we have this red-green pair solved, and then we have this really easy three mover, this green-orange. So here you have two options: rotate to the left or rotate to the right. And based on what I just said, it would be the better decision to rotate to the right so that you can put the pair into the back and you expose these two unsolved slots. So yeah, just really easy cases like this. Make sure you're not rotating to put the unsolved slots in the back. That's just not a good idea. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to discuss was the issue with avoiding rotations. So this might sound like a little counterintuitive, like, oh, why would you want to rotate if you don't have to? Well, I'm going to show you that right now, and this is really like the essence of what I mean by rotating smarter. It's a really prime example. So let's say you have this right here. Wait, is this a good case? Yeah. So for this pair, we have orange, green, and notice that we can make this pair like this. So a lot of beginners are told, okay, don't rotate so much. Now, what that doesn't mean is, don't rotate at all. Really, what it means is that you should only rotate, or you should only not rotate when you don't have to. It's hard to explain, but right here, notice that a lot of beginners would like avoid a rotation with an F move by using F moves, so they'd insert the pair like that. And that's just really poor use of finger tricks. It's quite terrible, actually. So the idea is that, you know, if you're going to rotate eventually, which you're really early on in F2L, it's very likely that you'll have to rotate. Make that rotation as you're, you know, finishing up the current pair so that you don't have to do F moves. So right here, it's totally fine to rotate and insert. I guess for me right here, I would see this pair next. So I would actually do a front slot since it would be a lot easier to do the next pair. But yeah, don't do F moves because that's really bad, because you know that for this pair, you'll likely be going into it and rotating. So go ahead and make that rotation so that you can like kind of kill two birds with one stone. So you make this insert easier and you're already rotated and set up for the next pair. So that's the general idea of like not avoiding rotations. So I'd say the concept I just talked about was productive rotations. So, you know, those rotations where you have to, you know, where you're rotating and setting up the next pair, that's actually contributing to, you know, the fluidity of the rest of your solve. So rotations can be a good thing. Like sometimes they're not, but they're not always bad. But yeah, that's kind of why the notion that all rotations are bad isn't true. You can make rotations productively and in a smart fashion. Before I continue, I wanted to say that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. As I'm sure you know, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people like you guys. I'm a huge proponent of self-teaching new skills, and Skillshare opens the door to that process. The website includes a wide variety of classes ranging from illustration to web development, and they all are extremely manageable time-wise. One class that I would recommend to any of you aspiring YouTubers is Introduction to SEO, Tactics and Strategies for Entrepreneurs, taught by Rand Fishkin. He offers some excellent guidance on drawing traffic to personal pages, which is what YouTube is all about. Additionally, many of you would be interested in the coding and cubing classes available. So less than $10 a month for an annual subscription, Skillshare is certainly worth a try. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads and new premium classes are constantly being added. In fact, I encourage all of you to join for a free trial of premium membership. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership. Joining Skillshare would help both me and you, so I'd really appreciate it if you use that link in the description to join. Alright, thanks so much. Okay, so the next topic I wanted to discuss was Y2s. And really Y2s should be pretty much eliminated from your solves. When people say don't do Y2s, they mean don't do Y2s. There actually is like good reasoning behind there, and I'll kind of explain why. So a lot of beginners are in situations where their look ahead isn't that great yet, so they'll do rotations to look ahead, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. So they'll do like a double rotation to expose those front slots, or they'll be in a situation where their cases are so bad it just wouldn't make sense to do them in the back. And that's totally right. Like it probably, like if you're taking it in a vacuum, doing a double rotation would be faster than working with what's in the back. But the idea is you want to put yourself in a position where you don't have to do Y2s. So like the beginning of your solve should put you in a position to not have to do Y2s. So let me just set up a quick example of what I mean. So right here, and usually this happens when, just like this, when you have a bunch of unoriented edges, because you can't determine, like if you're looking at the sides, you're looking for like the green orange. You can't really determine that just by looking around here. You have to look to the back, and that happens when there's unoriented. So a lot of people do like a double rotation. Now at the top level, cubers don't have to do that. You'll never see them like double rotate to look. They'll be tracking. But again, the idea here is you shouldn't be in a position where your first two pairs are in the front. That should just like not really happen ever. There probably is an exception, if there's like a really easy scramble and it doesn't make sense to do back slots. But generally, like, you shouldn't really have your first two pairs in the front, especially if there's unoriented edges in the back. So how you address that issue is by doing smarter rotations early in the solves, as I discussed earlier. So like if you have the option to do a front slot or a back slot, do the back slot. And really that skill, or just knowing how to do that, comes down to practice. But it is something that you do need to be mindful of. And I just mentioned this, but a lot of beginners do rotate for look ahead. So like their prediction skills aren't to the point where they, where they don't have to pause. So what they'll do when they're looking for their next pair is they'll like rotate around until they see an easy case. So yeah, that's a really bad habit. So what you want to do is like, again, these are things you need to be mindful of. They're not that hard to take out, but you just need to like force yourself, like restrict yourself to not rotating unless you can do it in a productive way. And I think, the root of this problem comes from beginners not knowing how to solve certain F2L cases, and from different positions. That's just something you'll have to learn. But yeah, really make an effort to stop rotating when you're trying to look ahead. And I'd say, the tangent to this is a lot of beginners do this X and X prime like movement when they're looking for pieces. And again, this is a bad habit. If you look at like top level solvers, you'll never see them do this. So generally, if top level solvers don't do that, it's probably not a good idea. So I guess I have a couple suggestions here. So one is just to make sure you're in the same like position generally with your hands, like just stop, and maybe rotate a little to the side, see if you can figure it out. Or you can, look into tracking your next F2L pairs. That's a little more advanced, but it's pretty much the way you have to go if you want to eliminate this problem completely. So I've been talking a lot about what top level solvers do in terms of rotations, and I just wanted to like provide more of like a numerical look into that. So I'm pretty sure I've seen Timon Koleshinsky. I've seen his statistics for rotations, and I believe he averages a little over 1 rotation per solve. So that's like, his F2L is incredible. So that's probably the lower bound on how much you'll be rotating if you're at the top level. So I'd say for me, I probably average a couple rotations per solve. So you should really be aiming for, 2 or 3 rotations per solve, and really no more than 4 is ridiculous. That's 1 per pair. I think that shouldn't really happen at all. So aim for 4 or less if you're a beginner. I think that's a good starting point. And, as you continue working, try to push to 1 or 2 on average. I'd say that is probably elite rotational efficiency. And now people will be saying like, oh, why not 0? Well, just as I explained earlier, not all rotations are bad. They can be productive. They can make your turning fluidity a lot better. So I think 0 rotations usually is like provides a super bad trade-off in terms of like what kind of turns you'll have to be doing. So yeah, aim for like 2 or 3 rotations and you'll be good to go. And then just keep moving down. Yeah, now I just have some general advice for how you should go about improving your rotations. So I have a couple things here. The first one is slow solving. I definitely recommend slow solving to a lot of beginners and even like intermediate solvers. So slow solving is really where you form good habits and you learn new things. You don't have any time constraints. So you're able to experiment and really like reflect and make good decisions. So I think especially for rotations, when you're trying to minimize those, it might feel uncomfortable at first. But once you get, optimal rotation down at a slower speed, you'll start incorporating that into your actual solves. So yeah, slow solving is just where you like break your solve down into steps and you just take the time you need to make decisions. So the solves are probably like, I don't know, 10 times slower than what you would, not 10 times, like a few times slower than what you would actually do. And then I'd say the last thing is just watching walkthrough solves of faster cubers is super enlightening. If you see some techniques to avoid rotations or solve F2L pairs that you didn't know before, then that would be really helpful. And the place to go for that is to watch walkthrough solves of the fastest cubers. So I think I used that when I was, in my intermediate stages, and that was super helpful. But there's just a wide variety of things you can do. Keep in mind that it'll take some work, but at the end of the day, you should be able to get to a point where you're rotating in a smart fashion. So yeah, that's about it for this video. I hope you guys like this more of an instructive type of video. I can do more of them in the future. Just let me know in the comments. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.